This call is now being recorded.
Cool. Okay. So how many of you are here? Only 7 of you. Okay. Now people are raising hand. 9. Okay. Cool. 10, 11. Just raise your hands if you are here. That's what I'm asking. 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. Cool. I think it's like more than 50%. Uh, cool. Let me start. Okay. So see what exactly I'll be doing is I'll just like I don't want to directly go and code. Let's conceptualize what exactly we are trying to do here. Okay. So that's the first thing. First thing is whatever the application will be integrating Redux into, right? I want to write the kind of components we have inside it. So first we'll just like draw here. Then we will see what exactly we are trying to achieve. Then we will understand what is the current implementation. Then we will understand when we use Redux what will happen exactly. Okay. Cool. So for that, I'm audible, right? Everyone can hear me, correct?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
So now if I just okay, now let's assume see whenever you talk about React applications, right? You are like talking about tree structure. Okay, the first thing is you'll be having like something known as root here. Okay, this will be a root. Okay, now let me just like reduce the size, font size, and inside that you'll be having like what? Uh, okay. So once you have this root, right, then you will be having, let me write it. Yeah, this looks much better. Hmm. So once you have like root here, it can be like what your index.js file or app.js file. It can be anything. Okay. So you have this root. That is the your main application. That is like where from your application starts. Okay. It can be app.js. Okay, and inside that is like your starting point, and from that point you'll be having like a different what you call routes. Okay, so you'll be having like inside that you'll be having routes. I don't want to give write like a route component here. I just want to write like a different routes we have. Okay, so probably we might be having like login route. Okay, and then we might be having like a home route, or you can consider it as what you call a products page. Yeah, I'll just like give it as like a home itself. Okay, home or dashboard. This can be probably the main page that is like dashboard. Okay, I'll just like write dashboard. Guys, my handwriting is like pretty bad. Okay, and yeah, if you're not understanding, just let me know. Then we might be having like a cart page. Oops, we'll be having like kind of cart page, and we might even like have this user update profile page, right? Profile page. This I'm just like considering like it's like a very basic use case here, and okay, let me try this properly. Cool. So if you consider this root, right, inside root you can divide these components into probably like whatever the kind of pages you have or like the number of components you have. Okay, there might be like another route file which I have not put here in between. It's the same thing. Okay, so you have root, you have like these 4 pages. Then these are like here, and it's like here, and it's here. Again, it will be here. This is how it will look like. Okay, so we'll be having root file inside root file, the architecture, the kind of current implementation of your any application. If you see any application, right, this is how it will be starting. You'll be having like one what you call entry point. This is how it starts for like most of the JavaScript application. Even if you consider like Node.js, right, that is also you'll be having like one entry point. From that entry point, you'll be having like a lot of stuff. Okay, so but like once you go to login page, right? So if you have cloned that, I'm just like taking reference of that itself. So once you go to login page, you'll be having like what here in the login page. Let's like close it over. Hmm, yeah, that's it. Here inside login page, right? You might be having like what? There might be like two input fields. this will be like two input fields, and there will be like another like one button. Okay, it can be input and this can be button. Since these are like not components, these are like just like HTML elements. I'm not like focusing much on it. And like once you go inside what you call okay, so we even have like this header in the root side. Okay, so we even have like this header as well. I just like forgot about it. We even have like header. Header will be kind of common to all. So this is what we have. Inside header you will be having like the links element. Okay, that is fine. And yeah, so once you go to like home page, right? In the home page you'll be having like a lot of dashboard or like home. Okay, this is like dashboard, or you can consider it as home. Okay, so here you'll be having like a lot of different products. Okay, so for one product we'll be having like one single component. Okay, so this can be one product, you can say product one, and it can be another product. Okay, this can be product two, and this can be another product. It can be p3. Then you'll be having like number of products. It can be p4, right? P4, p5, p6. So this is like the main actual grid where you are like listing out all the products. Okay, so in the dashboard home, right, you'll be having like all these products. Okay, so you can just like consider everything is kind of connected here. Okay, and so once you have that, right, this is like how we have. And inside if you consider like each of the product card, you'll be having like those elements, HTML elements. Again, I don't want to focus on that. It's like the one thing is like login is done, then is like dashboard is done. Now coming to the card page, right, when you talk about card page, again in the card page also we'll be having this kind of what you call cards. Okay, so whenever you want to show like what all the elements are present, like what all the items are present in the card, you'll be using the similar card, this kind of thing. Whatever the dashboard home you have, in this you have this kind of what do you call uh this like p1 p2, these are like cards, right? We'll be showing the similar cards there. Okay, so here also like once you add it, like there will be like one item there, you can say I'll just like C1, and I can say like C2. You might be having like added like four items. Okay, it can be C3 or like three items just for like simplicity's sake. And you'll be having like inside cart, you'll be having this three. Okay, again you can say that is how it will look like. Now when once you go inside profile, you might be having like a different component, but in our like current code structure, we don't have all those things. See here, like there are like few things which we need to focus on. The first thing is once you log in here, right? Once you do like a login here, what happens is see, once you do like a login here in this place, if you log in, what will happen is you will make a API call to the some server, right? You will make a API call to some server, and from that you'll get like all the user data. Okay, now that user data will be kind of shown in like most of the places. The first thing is it will be shown in this. Once you get this data, this will be shown in like this profile page. Okay, it will be shown here in the profile page, and the username or like email will be shown in the header here. Okay, and while checking out, it might be shown in the cart here as well. Okay, although you are logging in only for the one time, but this data which you are getting, that will be shown in like multiple bases. Now how we can manage here is either we can store this data in like a kind of what you call local storage. You can use like something known as local storage from browser, and you can store data, and wherever you want you can just say local storage dot get item of that particular key. Probably it can be email or like username, and you'll get it. It's like easy peasy. Okay, but the problem with this approach is you have to write like a lot of code. The same code will keep on repeating, and the consistent what you call the performance will kind of get definitely it will be kind of a bit low because you're just writing to browser memory. That is not good. Okay, instead of like using it's like in memory applications memory, then that would be kind of fine. So here what this is like one solution. Okay, the first solution is to use local storage. Now what is the second solution? If we want to share the data among across each other, the second solution would be simple. What I'll do is I'll just like write a function here. So then I'll push the data to root. I'll push the data here. Then from here, I'll pass the data to each and every. Since like from root, like all these are like children element, I can pass it as a prop. So we call this as a you just like how you can pass the data to the parent. You can write a function here, right? In login, you can write a function, and you can pull the data here to the root. You can pull the data here to the root, and what you can do is you can pass the data again to the header, cart, and profile. This can be also done. Second thing is what I can say. Uh, Pass to parent. Okay, and pass it as a props. That is also fine. But again, I say doing this, like since your like login is kind of immediate child of the root, you can do it. Now, what if it's like somewhere? Let's assume here you have like multiple components. You might be having like some different components. Inside that component, you might be having like a login. So at that particular moment, what you will do? So and one second, wait, I'll just like use some different color. Yeah, login is here presently. What if like login was present here? Login was present here, there were like some intermediate components here, here. If that was the case, then you have to pass it to here, then you have to pass it to here, then you have to pass it to here, then you have to pass it to root, then you have to pass it to back, then like to what do you call it, to cart, then profile. That will be kind of tedious, right? That's what kind of prop drilling means. Prop drilling means like passing the props from top to parent, child, grandchild, all those things. Here we are like passing ulta. Okay, we are passing it to parent, grandparent, and all those things. Again, this will be kind of tedious, but you can achieve it, right? You can do and achieve like that. Okay, now the first thing is like if you want to share the data among like multiple components or like multiple pages stored in like a local storage, this is like you can do, or you can do pass to parent. Now what is the better solution compared to this? Do we have any other solutions compared to this, these two? Do we have any better solution? Yes, no?
Yeah, storing inside.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is the better solution? Vignesh, Nawaz.
We can create
Context.
one particular place
Mhm.
where we store all our properties there, and we can provide access for the entire thing to grasp it and use it.
Okay, but how to do that? What I can use for that?
Uh,
What I can use for that, guys? We were discussing like a lot of stuff, right? Like that was what you call a lot of theoretical classes. That's what we discussed, right? When I said like local storage, like then pass to parent, like what else we can do? Forget about Redux. You don't have to say Redux. Okay, Redux is like a last solution. Before Redux, what else we can do?
Context API.
Yeah, as Nawaz said, we can use like context API as well. Context API. Now, how to implement context API is basically what you have to do is instead of doing like a like say here you have to give like something known as context provider. Okay, from here you have to pass a function here. Okay, here you might be like setting up like some state here, and you have to pass like updater function here and update the state. Now that state will get updated here in the root. Now when that happen, it will automatically get passed here. All these things you can use like context as well. So these are like three kind of solutions which we are getting as of now, right? Local storage, pass to parent, and context API. But let's go and scrutinize one by one. Okay, so when you say like local storage, as I said, when you're using like local storage, as I said, like you have to keep on setting, I mean like you have to do set your data inside like local storage, then you have to get it like each and everywhere. Okay, that will be kind of performance it. Okay, so that's where that option is gone. Okay, so I don't want to take that option. I'll just like remove this. I don't want to do it. Now the second thing is we can do like prop what do you call pass to parent. Now if the like there's like if this is your child and this is the parent, and this is a child component, is a parent component, if you want to pass it from here to here, you can do it like if it's like only one level. But what happens if it is like multi-level? What if you have like something like this here, here, and here? You have to pass this to this. That will be kind of problem, right? First you have to pass it here, then you have to pass it here, then you have to pass it here. Again, you're writing like a lot of boilerplate code there, where you are like passing like some functions, hooks, then once trigger this, you have to call like multiple functions, chain like up to the where you need it. Okay, so again this will be kind of problem, and the major problem with this, right? There will be like no performance problem here, but the major problem which I can see here is like the code readability. For the developer, the experience will be like pretty bad. Okay, it's kind of hard to maintain this kind of code. Okay, so for that is also kind of no. Okay, you can remove that. You can remove that. Okay. Now the last option which we are considering here is context API. Context API can be considered here. Okay. Since we have like single simple application here, context API is like a better choice. We can use like context API. We can use how to pass provider, how to use consumer, wherever we want, we can use. And this is like a better choice here. Now I'm even like telling the context API is a better choice since we have like this like very simple application. I want to utilize, I want to show like how we can use Redux here, how we can use Redux here to implement the similar stuff. Okay. So we don't want to use context API. Context API definitely is a good choice here because like we have like very simple stuff here, right? What I'm saying is I want to share like user data. I'm not saying like we have like a lot of data which needs to be shared across the complete application. But what I'm saying is I have like only user data which need to be shared. Now for this, what do you call problem? Context API is like a much better solution. But I want to teach you how we can use Redux. Now, instead of context API, if you don't have context API, what is the other alternative? That is Redux, right? So let's go ahead and like learn about a bit about Redux. Okay, cool. So the first thing is like why? What exactly is Redux? Okay, I mean, if we are talking like a lot about Redux. What exactly is Redux? You know it, like it's like a state management library, right? Now the next thing is I want to talk about like architecture of Redux. Okay. Architecture of Redux, or you can say elements of Redux. Elements of Redux. Okay, my handwriting is pretty bad. Adjust it. Okay. We can say elements of Redux. See, when we talk about Redux, right? See, Redux is like a completely different library on its own. Now, the idea of Redux is like pretty easy. It's like nothing much. As someone said, as Vignesh said, right? To put like all the whatever the data which is kind of shared across the app, just put the data into like somewhere in a single place. That's what like Redux is doing. So Redux has something known as there is like one place in Redux, okay, that we call it as a store. Consider this as a store, okay. And if you consider this as a store, whatever the data you need, for example, you need to store user data, right? Store it. You need to store cart data. Store it. You need to store what else? Profile data. Profile and user is like the same thing, but still profile data. Store it, and you need to use what else? What else we have like in application? You might want to use like favorites as well. Store it. Whatever the data you need, store it. But like all this data, all this complete data will be stored in like a very one bigger object. Okay, this is how it will be stored. Okay, now this it will be like something like this. User will be having like its own object. Cart will be having like its own object. We will be having profile will be having like its own object, and we will be having favorites. It will be having like its own object. Okay, so I'll just like remove this. This is how it's actually look like. Okay, so store is nothing but it's just like a very big object, and in that object you'll be having like all the slices is nothing but like these are the this is like a user data, card data, profile data, favorites data. All these are like pieces, and we call this as what do we call this? Single stuff. The people who have used Redux, what do we call this? Sorry, come on guys, answer.
Reducer.
Exactly, we call this as reducers. See, we have like this. All these four can be called as a reducers. And when we are saying reducer, we are saying like individual. On an individual level, when we say like this is like a slice of data, then that is like a reducer. Okay, so when you say that this is like a slice of data, it is a reducer. When you say like this is like a slice of data, that is a reducer. This is like a slice of data, that is a reducer. Now when we use all these reducers to combine it, okay, when we combine all these reducers, that will turn into a store. Okay, so that's what like we're talking about here. Okay, so this is like a reducers. We have like a lot of reducers here. Reducers is nothing but a piece, what do you call, a block of data. Okay, here we have like one is like a user block, card block, profile block, favorites block. Okay, so you combine all those blocks to form a single object. Now this object we call this a store. Okay, now the idea is pretty simple guys. Okay, so you don't have to fret it out. Okay, so the idea is very simple. The idea is what exactly is a store. Now see, the Redux philosophy is like very simple. Now Redux even like we like in the developer ecosystem, right? Even in the Redux documentation they have mentioned Redux is famous for and famously called as a single source of truth. Now why do we say like single source of truth in Redux is because this is like only place where each and every data is stored, and there is like no duplicate copy of this data. Okay, and there's like you can't directly even change the data directly and going, but you have to follow some standard procedure to change data. For example, let's assume I want to in the user, let me just like write a user object here. Let's assume this is a user object. In user object, you might be having like name. Name might be John Doe. Okay. And you might be having like gender, and it can be male. And you can be having address here. Okay. You can say like Koramangala. Okay, so you'll be having like something. I'm just like expanding this user object here. Okay, now if you see here, we have like John Doe here. Okay, we have like this male and Kormangla. And if you want to change this, okay, why we say like single source of truth is because we if you want to change this, right, you can't directly go and you can't see. I'm saying like store as object, right? You can't directly go and say store. How I can access object? If I want to access object, how I can do it? I mean, like if I want to access like any object's property, how I can do that?
Dot notation.
Dot notation, right? Obviously. So I can say store here. If I'm saying store dot user dot name, right? Name is equal to, I can change it like Jane Doe. I can do it, right? But this is kind of, you can't do it in Redux. Why you can't do it in Redux, right? If you keep on doing this in Redux, the problem is you can't maintain what you call it, transparency, and you can't maintain this predictable state. Okay, so that's the reason we don't maintain this. The idea of Redux is very simple. Okay, put all your data which you are sharing across the app in a single object. We call that object as what? What do we call that object?
Reducer.
Guys, come on.
Store.
Right? If you want to share the data among the across the app, you want to put that data into what? That's what I'm asking. It's a store, correct? Store is like a place where you put like all the data, and a different part, like you have like multiple things here, right? You have like user, cart, profile, favorites. All these are reducer. That's what I'm saying. Is this clear, or like do you have any questions here? Forget about reducer as well. Is like store part clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Any?
Yes, sir.
What is the question? You guys have any questions?
No, sir.
No questions. Okay. Cool. Amir, Mahbub Qureshi, Ashutosh, any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. I'm picking some random names. Akhil, what about you? You have any questions till now? Okay, cool. Okay, so the elements of Redux, this is like first element, okay? This is a first element. The first element is pretty simple. Store, we will be having like totally 3 elements. That's the 3 elements of Redux. The first element is store, which is like a very important, which is like kind of heart of the Redux where all the data lies. Okay, if you want to see, forget about React, don't worry about React, just like focus on Redux now. Then you'll be seeing how this can be utilized in React. I'll draw and show you, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay. Now next thing is, this is done, right? So store is a place in which like all the state of the application is stored, and which is like shared across the application. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is, as I said, you can't it's like a single source of truth. Okay, so this is single source of truth, so you can't do like store dot user dot you can't change it like that. Okay, so if you want to, okay, now the question is now again, let's expand this. Now let's expand this user again here. This user will look like this. User object will look like this. I'll write name here. Something like this. Okay, now I said you can't directly say store.user.name is equal to Jane Doe. You can't do that because it's like a single source of truth, and if you keep on doing that, that will be, developers misuse it. Okay, so wherever we want, just like we can change the value, and that will cause the complete application to break. Now the question is, if I want to change the state, if I want to change this value, name value, how I can change it? Here comes the second part of our, what we call, here comes the second part of the Redux. We call that as a action. Okay, so what exactly is action? Let me just look. This is our second part. Okay, now I'll say this as action. Now what exactly is action? So let's assume this is action. Okay, so the first thing we learned is like store is like the same thing. It's the data which is like used across the app, and it can't be changed. Okay, you can't directly change using like object notation, dot notation. You can't do that. That will be kind of, even if you are able to change it, that will not sync across the app. That will create a problem. Okay, now if I want to change it like in ethical manner, how you can change it? Now here comes the second part known as action. So what exactly action does is, action says action is nothing but an object. Again, it's just an object. Okay, it's just an object which contains the, what you call, you can say like which contains the details what needs to be changed. Okay, for example, here there is like one common property known as type. Okay, type will be kind of one string which you'll be giving its kind of instructions. For example, I'll say like I want to change the name, right? I'll be giving like a type as change underscore name. Okay, now why do we need to use type? I'll just show you in like a minute. Okay, so this is like a you'll be what is action? Action is nothing but an object. It's an object which will contain like all the information of what exactly needs to be changed. For example, here I'm saying like type is change name. I want to change the name, and what is the value I want to change? You can even like pass that value. For example, you can say value here. Some people call it as a payload, some people call it as a value. Whatever you want, you can call it here. But I'm saying I'll just like I want to change this John Doe to Jane Doe. Okay, that's what I want to do. Or else I'll just like say Bob here. Simple stuff. Okay, there is an action. Action is nothing but an object. In that object we have all the details required to what exactly needs to be changed in the store. Okay, so here what exactly I want to change? I want to change name. And what is the name I need to change it to? I want to change it to Bob. So this John Doe, I want to change that John Doe to Bob. Okay, so this is what we do. Okay, now here I'm like, is it clear? Is action the definition about action is clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Vignesh is the only one who is getting it.
Yes, sir.
Yes. But to which
Yes, sir.
user we are changing this name?
Sorry.
See, store is having multiple reducers.
Yeah. I'm coming there. I'm coming there. That's
Okay,
the
okay,
third part.
fine. Okay, thanks.
No, that's like a valid question. Like, I'll just like tell you in a second. Cool. So this is the first part. This is the second part. Okay. Now the third part is as we even like asked that question is how it will get to know in which part. Like I mean, like store is like a pretty big object, right? Here, if you see, this is like a very big object. Correct. This is like a very big object. In this object, how this action will get to know what exactly needs to be changed. Here comes like a third part. Here comes the third part known as reducers. Okay, so what exactly is reducer now? Okay, so third part, which is like a reducer. So what are reducer? I'll say reducers. Okay, it can be having like multiple. See, reducers are nothing but it's like a slice of a store. Okay, for example, you have this user here, right? So if you consider this, if you consider this store, we have like multiple we have like multiple objects. Like we have like this user object, then we have like this cart object, then we have like this profile object, then we have like this favorite object. We have like totally 4 objects in like a single object. Now all that 4 object you can't you can't create that 4 objects in, and that will be kind of harder, right? So if you want to create like this different objects for different use cases, what you'll be doing is you will be creating like something known as reducers. In the reducers, if you want to create a user object inside store, then you'll be creating like one reducer as user. Okay, so how to do that? Now I'll just like show here like in a simple manner. See here in the reducer, we have like user reducer, cart reducer, profile reducer, favorite reducer, right? Combining all this will be creating a store. So here what will happen is you'll be having like a user here, and it will be having like its own object. It is like a reducer is a function. Okay, I'll just like write user reducer here because I need to have like a lot of space to write like all those things, but like it's kind of similar. You'll be having like a user reducer. In the user reducer there will be like a function. Okay, there will be a function which will take what do you call action. Okay, action is a parameter. Instead of this, I'll just like use this. Okay, you'll be having like a function which will take like action as parameter, and inside it you'll be having like a switch statement. Inside it you'll be having like action dot type. Okay, see this is like action. This is your action. This is your action, right? In this action you have like this type, and this you have like value. So this is, I'm saying like action is an object. If you want to access type from inside an object, how you can do is you can use like dot notation. If you want to use dot notation, it's like action dot type, right? That's what we are trying to do here. So we are switching on action dot type. And here what we'll be doing is we'll be having like a different cases. For example, we'll be having like first case as change name. Okay, here what I'll do is I'll change the actual, here I'll change the actual this store object. Okay, here I'll change the actual this user object to name. So this is the logic. So this is how it actually works. The first thing is what will happen is you might be having like an action as change name. Now that will be getting dispatched. Dispatch is nothing but you're just like posting that action, or like you're calling that action. Now when you call that action, this will go into this reducer, this user reducer, and it will check all the cases. Unless and until this type matches here, this type, it will not execute. Okay, so if this type and this type matches, only the logic inside of that switch case executes. I'll just like show you. For example, let's assume you're dispatching this action. Okay, you're dispatching an action. I'll show you like one by one. So first what you'll do is you'll call this action, so it will go here and it will trigger here. Okay, it will trigger here. Now what will happen is it will be having like, this will take action, right? This will take like action as the parameter. This complete thing will be going inside it. Okay, now once it goes, is like we are doing like switch of action dot type. What is the action dot type here? What is the type here?
Change name.
Change name, right? So in the case, do we have like change name here? Do we have like change name here?
Yes.
Yeah, we have like change name here. So if you have like change name here, what we'll do is it will go and execute this logic. Okay, if it doesn't have change name, because like one reducer will be having like multiple cases. It's not like only one case. You'll be having like case as change age, change gender, or like update something. You'll be having like multiple cases. It will keep on checking that reducers, and unless and until it finds the same case, it will not execute. Once it matches, it will just like go inside that particular case and it will execute the logic. Now in this logic, what I'll be writing is in the user object, here it will touches. Okay, now in the user object, I want to change this John Doe to what I need to change it to?
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe.
Bob.
Bob, right? See, I'm giving like value here, right? I'll be accessing that value here. Return what you call action dot value. I'll be accessing it. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
To how many of you are like it is clear? Just raise your hand. Okay. And what about like rest of others? I mean, like, do you have any questions?
Sir, I have a simple question.
Yes, go ahead.
One reducer, how many actions can one reducer contain?
One reducer can contain like any n number of actions. You can't. I mean, like, you don't have any number for that.
Okay.
But having like less number of actions per reducer is good because you can maintain the code properly, right? Or
Okay.
like putting like everything into one file will be kind of hard. Correct?
Yes. Okay, sir.
Like, yeah, that's a valid question. Okay.
Also, Tajammul,
Yeah.
like it's a tedious coding.
Yeah.
Because just to maintain these sessions,
Mhm.
write so much of code, so much of switch case
Yeah.
statements
Right.
for every reducer.
Hmm.
Sorry, but do we have any alternate shortcut?
No, I mean like the architecture looks like this, but when we
Okay.
code, right, you will
Mhm.
not feel like this much hectic stuff. It will be
Okay.
like much easier. Yeah.
Okay.
Here,
Yeah.
I mean like what happens is usually people go into interview. I also keep on interviewing like a lot of people. They just blabber, but they don't understand like how actually things are working.
Okay.
That's the reason I don't want like these people to happen like that. So I'm just explaining the things.
Right.
Mm.
Thanks.
So this is like three parts. This is like for everyone. There will be like three parts. So there's like one action. So when you dispatch the action, that action type should match to any of the reducers case. Okay, I'm just like taking user as example. You have like multiple reducers. You might be having like multiple reducer. What will happen like, under the hood is this action will go and hit to all the reducers. Okay, it will hit to all the reducers, and out of all the reducers, if that type is matching to any one of them, it will execute. Okay, now what if they are like same type in like multiple reducers? For example, chain name is like already in this as well as in this. Then what will happen is it will execute sequentially. First this will get executed, then this will get executed. But like that, you should never do that. If for example if there is a bug like that, then first this will get executed, that will get executed. Now like this case you can easily debug in what you call Redux DevTools. Okay, I'll show you that. That's how the things are working. Cool. Now the thing is, okay, now we learned like what is like React, how React, like how we can use React, now how this Redux is working. Now let's understand how we can integrate this React with Redux. Okay, I'll just like draw like a very simple diagram here again. Now once it is done, right, let's go and start coding. Cool. Now we even like spoke about React as well as Redux. Now let's see how React in conjunction with like this Redux works. Okay, so for example, let's assume I have, again, let's go with this thing. Now instead of doing that, let me draw it here a bit. Cool. I'll be having like a root here again. You'll be having like component 1 here, component 2 here, component 3 here, right? Now for component 1 also you might be having like grand component 1, grand component 2, something like this. For this might also you have like CCC1, something like this. Okay, so you have this like this and this, now this. Okay, now let's assume you have you want to like call some API here. Okay, you're calling a API here, you're calling a API here. Okay, you're making an API call here and you're getting like some response here. Okay, now you want to use this response in this component. Okay, now you have this response here and you want to use this response in this component. Now we again we learned about like different methods you can use, like context, we can use passing to parent. But how if I want to use like this in Redux, how I can do it? The first thing is, yeah, now see whatever like I have written here in what do you call in gray color or white color, that is like a React app. Now whatever I'll be writing in the yellow, that will be like all the Redux components. Okay, so here let's assume you are using Redux here. So Redux will be having like a store here, right? Obviously, as I said, Redux will be having like a store, right? Now once you have this store, what we usually do is we usually connect this store to this root component. So once you connect this to root component, what will happen internally is it will form like some sort of layer to the complete application, right? I mean like that complete application is accessible by that store, right? Store is accessible by complete application. Okay, so once you have this store and you are like wrapping that to the root, it means like obviously this all the components can be like all the components can access store. Okay, that's what it actually means. Okay, so you have this store here and you'll be having like some like a lot of data. Let's assume again you have like this user reducer. You might be having like let's assume data reducer here. Okay, so whatever the API call you're doing, you want to get that data here. You're making a call here. Okay, you're not using like any asynchronous actions, but you're just like making a call here, and whatever the data you're getting, you want to pass the data here. Okay, so how it actually works is, see, once you and you want to use the data here. Okay, now the first thing is if you're like getting the data, you have to write like one action here. The first thing is you have to write like one action saying like you're writing an action saying like type as update data and value or like payload would be whatever the data you're getting here, right? Once you get the API, you get the data, right? And just like this will be like array. Now this action will be inside this. Okay, here there's like an action. So what you'll do is, so once you get the data, you will call this action or you dispatch this action. Okay, the right thing will be dispatch this action. Now what will happen is this action, there will be like a reducer here. Okay, don't want to write like complete stuff. Now what will happen is this reducer, this action, you'll call this action will go here and into the reducer, and this reducer know, okay, since I'm getting like a type is like update data, I want to change this data inside the store. So what I'll do is I'll just like go to the data and update the data to this object, okay, this array, okay, whatever the array I'm getting. So once this is done, right, once this is done, see, this is how you dispatch an action. If you want to update the store, this is how you do it. How you can read it, I have not talked about like how to read from the store, right?
Yes, sir.
Guys, once again, this guys, just give me a minute, okay, I'll be back. Oops, yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, so I was saying how you can update the data to the store. Okay, so you have to dispatch an action and it will hit the reducer and it will update the data. But how you can read this data from the store in a component? For example, if you want to read the data here, right? If you want to read the data, whatever the data you have, this you want to read it. So what you can do is you can connect your component to Redux store. You can connect this component to Redux store. See, although all the components have access, I have written like some virtual line here, right? I mean this dotted line. All the complete application might have access to the store, but still, unless if you want to access the data from store, you have to explicitly connect it. Connected in a sense, I want to connect this. I'm saying like we are like doing the kind of what your mutual agreement saying like I'll be accessing the store data. Okay. Now that is kind of tedious. When we had this class-based component, that was tedious to access the data from the store where you have to use like connect and all those things. I don't want to cover that. Like most, it's kind of deprecated, getting deprecated. From now onwards, like we have like hooks. Okay, it's like very easy to access the data of store. Okay. Anyways, I'll show you that. Don't worry about it. So this is how the things will work. So in conjunction with React, so this is how it will work. We'll be having like store that will be kind of wrapping the complete stuff, complete app. Then if you want to change the data in store, you'll be having like an action. Okay, this is how it will look like, and you'll dispatch that from a component, and that will go to and hit to the reducer. Okay, and wherever that component is connected, you might have connected like the store here. Okay, and you might even have connected the store to this component as well. Okay, so if this data is getting used here and here, let's assume this data is getting used here and this data is getting used here. Now what will happen is like once this data gets updated, automatically this will re-render. This will re-render and this will also re-render. Why this will re-render? Because the data is updated, right? So it will re-render. So this is how it actually works. This is our actual application, React application. This is the architecture of Redux. Now once you want to use like Redux with a React app, this is how it actually works. Now take like 5 minutes. If you have any questions, it can be any simple questions, hard questions, anything which you're not understanding, go ahead and ask. No questions?
So where will the store data stored?
Where the?
Store data is stored in database or somewhere else?
No. It will be stored in, like, in memory. When we say in memory, we're like talking about RAM here. Okay. So once you close the tab, this is gone. Okay. But how you can persist it, I'll be talking about that. Okay. We'll be using something as Redux persist. At that particular moment where it will be storing, it will be storing in something as IndexedDB. So we'll be using something as forage. I'll be talking about that. Don't worry about it. But this is like when we say store, we are saying like it will be storing in, like, in memory. We're just like not talking about like persisting the data. We are talking about how you can manage the data when the user is active. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a valid question. And any other questions?
Yeah, Tashmul, I have one doubt.
Yes, Deepti. Go ahead.
Okay. After creating the actions, like how will you update the action into the reducers? Because I didn't get that flow.
Yeah, that's like again valid question. See here, I'll tell you in like a very simple manner. Okay, so I'll not write like much stuff here.
Okay.
I'll write like very simple things here. Let's assume this is a store. Okay, this is store. You have like one piece of store here. Like there might be a name here. Okay, your name would be like Taj itself. Okay, I want to change it to full name to the jumble. Okay, this is my store, and this is my action. In action, I want to type is change name. Okay, and the value which I'm giving is Tajamul. Okay, see, when I dispatch this action, right, it will not directly go and change it. This will never happen. Okay, so what exactly will happen is there is like one more layer in between these two, that is like reducers. Okay, there will like multiple reducers. For example, there might be user reducer, there might be profile reducer, there might be cart reducer, there might be business reducer. It can be anything. Okay, so this might be like user reducer, and let's assume this change name occurs here. You have like this chain name case, switch case. Inside switch case, we have this chain name string here in this reducer, but we don't have like here, we don't have here, we don't have here, we don't have here. When you dispatch an action, what will happen is this will go and hit all the reducers. Okay, and it will try to match this change name with all the reducers, and in which reducer this chain name matches. For example, in our case here, it's matching here, right? What it will do is it will execute its logic. In this logic, what will be what we have written is change the actual name, this Taj, to Tajamul. Okay, so whatever the value we're getting. Now comprising all this is nothing but a store. That's it. If you comprise all these things, we call this as a store. That's it. That's the actual, what you call, demonstration here. The store is nothing but it's like a comprising, like a store is an object consisting of like multiple objects. Now those multiple objects are reducers. Okay, so we'll be not directly manipulating store as a complete object. We'll be manipulating an individual reducer that will comprise of a store.
Okay. After it matches, it will go and perform the action, right? We use
Yeah.
reducer is mainly used to perform the action.
Exactly. A reducer is used to the actual logic, right? For example, I want to change this name. The actual logic is written in reducer.
Okay.
I have not written the logic here because the space is less, but I'll be showing you in the code.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Salman, will it not impact, not Salman, sorry, Tajamal.
Yeah.
Will it not impact the performance because it's going to hit all the reducers just to change one name or anything like that?
Here there is like something known as pub sub pattern. There is like a concept on, again, it's like a system design kind of stuff. I mean, like, as I think you have heard of this, right? I mean, like, what exactly we are doing is we are not reading everything, we're just like dispatching it. If this matches, execute, or else leave it. We are not collating every time, we're just like dispatching it. If it matches, execute, or else forget it. That's it. That's how we are doing. So here there will be no performance issue. And while using the state, there might be a issue, something known as, what you call, when you make like a copy of state in JavaScript, that is like much expensive, but we don't do here. We don't mutate the actual state. For example, if you see this state, right, we might be thinking like we are changing the name to Tajamul here, but that doesn't happen. What will happen is Redux will create like a new object similar to this, but it will be having like only change as tajammul. That's what I was explaining earlier when we showed the dev tools. In that we were able to see the complete diff. Although it says like this key has changed, but like those are like two complete different objects. So if you are modifying same object again and again, if there are like multiple actions simultaneously, that will give you like kind of inconsistent performance. So what we'll do is we'll be creating like every new object and we'll just like storing it. The rest of the object is like automatically garbage collected in JavaScript.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So Vignesh has no questions. What about others? Only he's the person to answer.
No questions.
Okay. Do one thing. Just if it is clear, just raise the hand. At least I'll get to know. Okay. We have like, okay, I think. Cool. Now let's actually go and code. Okay. I mean, like, since you people understood this, now will be the fun part. You can lower the hand. Just like do this. Cool. Let me just stop sharing this screen. Cool. Okay, now let's go ahead and try this out. Once again. Okay. Let me share my screen. That is not good. If I share it here, the screen. Hello. Cool. So I hope everyone has cloned it, right? Cloned it. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'll just like open this VS Code. See, what I'll do is I'll just like whatever the code we have in the master, I'll just like leave it like that. I'll create a branch known as Redux. Okay, I'll say git checkout -b. I'll say Redux. I'll say Redux implementation, something like this. Okay. I'll do all the changes here and I'll push it. Okay, so once once we are done with the workshop today, what you can do is you can go ahead and compare it if you want. Okay, so here we have like completely working application. I mean, yeah, it's not up to the mark on like aesthetic level because we didn't spend like much time on it, as we want just to show this. Let's go through the application once. Okay, I'll just like do npm start. Oh, okay. So before going to that, let's go to the code first. See here, we don't even have like a proper folder structure, but that's fine. Yeah. First, let me go to the root file. That is like index.js. Okay. Let me just. Okay. So I want to show this. Yeah. So this is like our main index file. Okay. So we don't have like much here. So we have like this app. As I said, like we'll be having like one root file. Here we are like calling app component. If I go to inside app component, we have this. See here, like I want to show one thing. Here we have something known as, what do you call, state. I've written like card items and set card items. Oh, here we are like not even like using this or what. We're not using context here. We're just like passing it down, I guess. I think we're just like passing it down. We are not even like using context here. We are just using parent props here. See here, I'm passing card items here as well. I'm passing card items here as well. Okay, that is fine. Okay, anyways, so we have this app.js here. Here we are using router. Okay, so here like we have like totally 3 paths. The first path is like slash. Once you go to slash, I am rendering this login page. If you go to slash home, we are rendering what? What is a component we're rendering? We are rendering this home page. And if you go to slash cart, I'm rendering the cart items page. Although we are storing the data here, our idea will be we'll be removing this what do you call, from here, and we'll be using this in a store. Okay, I'll just like, I don't want to complicate the stuff. Okay, initially I will just keep it like one reducer, then let's add the reducer, then we'll see how we can see the difference. Okay, so here first let me just go to here index.js. Let me write down the few steps. Wait a second here, let me just yeah, this only looks better. Yeah, for the comments. See, the first thing is we are like talking about Redux, and Redux is an external dependency. Okay, so if we, and one more thing you need to understand is React and Redux are like these two different libraries. Okay, and if you want to use Redux in your app, the first thing is you'll be needing Redux. Redux is a library again. Okay, this is the first thing we need, and the second thing we'll be needing is something known as React Redux. Okay. Now you might be thinking, so we have this Redux. Why do we need this library? What is the use of this library? Any idea? Why do we need this? Anyone who has already used Redux?
To connect React with Redux.
Excellent. As well said, see, we have this Redux. As I said, like Redux is a different library, and we have written the code in React. React is a different library. But if you want to connect this React and Redux, then we have like another library known as React Redux. Okay, so this will give us all the utility functions. This will be having like all the utility functions to connect our React app to the Redux store. Okay, so this will be having like utility functions to connect our React app to the Redux store. Redux is, this is a external dependency. Consists of only Redux. Nothing much. It will be having like only Redux. That's it. Okay. So Redux utils. Okay. So this will be having like utility functions to connect our React app to the Redux store. Okay. So these are the two things we'll be requiring. Later we'll be even like requiring something as a Redux thunk. This will to perform asynchronous sync actions. So, okay. Redux thunk will be needing, and we might install Redux persist as well later. Persist. This will be persist state, persist store state. Okay. So we'll be talking about like this 4. I'll just like start with like React Redux, but I will install all the library at once, so that we don't waste like time to keep on installing again and again. Okay. So to install the library, we can use like npm or yarn. Okay. So I'll be using npm itself. I'll just say npm install. I'll say Redux, React Redux. Then I'll say Redux thunk and Redux persist. I usually don't set up Redux, React Redux. Okay, I mean, like, I might be a bit rusty, so the people who have experience just help me if I just like go somewhere here. Okay. So these are like 4 things we need. Okay, so Redux, Redux persist, Redux thunks, React Redux. These 2 are like kind of completely optional, but these 2 are kind of mandatory. Redux and React Redux. Okay, these 2 are like very much important. Okay. So the first thing is now let's go to a very simple stuff. Okay, so as I said, like the first thing is we'll be needing actions, right? So what I'll do is first we'll just like create a folder. Okay, I mean like again you can create like any kind of folder, it's up to you. But I'll just like create a folder known as Redux. I'll put like all the Redux stuff here. Here inside this folder, I'll create like actions.js. Here I'll put like all the actions, and here I'll say reducer.js. See, I'm like talking about like only one reducer here, okay? But this folder structure needs to be modified later, and I'll say store.js. These were the three things which we were talking about, right? I just want to keep in a very simple fashion. I don't want to overcomplicate the stuff by showing you all the folder structure, putting here and there. I don't want to do that. Okay, let's do like a very simple stuff. The first thing is, first let's write the reducer. Okay, instead of writing reducers, let's first write the store here. Okay, if you want to create a store, okay, how you have to do is first you have to import few things from Redux. Okay, this will be like name imports. There is like something known as create store. Create. We don't have create store now. It's like legacy create store. We're going using configure store from Redux toolkit package which replaces create store. Okay, wait a second. I think this is like kind of new dependency. I'll just like install the old one where we're like using it. They might have changed it. I'll say npm install Redux. I'll install the version 3. Now they might have changed it, but all the concept will remain same. But the utils package has changed. If I install that again, I have to read the documentation, which will be I'll be wasting your time. Okay, I think this is fine. Yeah, I think you should be able to. Yeah, now we have the create store here. Create store, and we'll be naming the combined reducers as well. As I said earlier, right? If you want to create a store, store is nothing but a big object comprises of like different reducers. Okay, if you want to combine all those reducers into one single store, you'll be using this combined reducers option. And to create a store, you'll be using this create store. It's like a very simple one. What you'll be doing is you'll be doing here something known as const store is equal to, you'll be using the create store. Okay, inside create store you will be doing the combined reducers. Here you'll be putting all the reducers. Here you'll be putting all the reducers, but we don't have any reducers as of now. And at the last you just like export this, export default, which can be used like in different places. I'll just show you this. Okay, okay, so the first thing is like create store. We'll be using create store, but inside create store, you have to combine all the reducers to put it, right? I showed you, right? Store will comprise of like multiple reducers. Since we have like only one single reducer here, let's go and create a reducer. I'll just like keep it as it is as of now. Let's first go and reduce it, and let's do that. I'll just like give let's take the similar example, a change name example. I will give this reducer name as user reducer. I'll say const user reducer. It will be a function which will return a object. Okay, so here it will be having, you can get like an action. The first will be, okay, sorry, the first will be like initial state. Then we have like action. Okay, now what is this initial state? I'll talk about a bit. Okay, cool. Here we'll be having like switch statement. Switch. How to write switch? Is this correct or wrong? I have forgotten the switch syntax. Oh, this is bad.
Condition issue.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
Switch expression.
Switch. I'll say action dot type. Okay. Here I'll switch. Okay. Yes. Here I'll say change name. Here I will return. Did I do any mistake here? Expect, yeah, I'll be giving the default case. Wait a second. It's just like default, right? Or I need to write like default case. That's it.
Yeah, just default.
Okay. Cool. Recently, I have been writing like Golang. So I'm practicing Golang, so I'm forgetting this JavaScript syntax. Okay. Yes. So just like say export default user reducer. Now I want to explain you what exactly is this state. Okay, so we are saying like store will consist of state, but what exactly this state? See, I explained you earlier. This if you say this store is a big object. If you say this is like a store, this object is a store. In this object, we'll be having like a user reducer. I mean, like user object, right? We'll be having this user object, and then we'll be having what else? We'll be having a data object. Yeah, consider this. Cool. Now, in this user object, we might be having like a name as well. Correct. Name might be having like the I'll be having like all the details here. Okay. Name, age as 25. Okay. Cool. And I will have the purpose here as well. Something like this. Okay. Now in the data, we might be having consider this as a what do you call it? Array. In this array, you will be having like multiple objects. Okay. Let's assume this is your store. Okay. But if you see here, we have like these two things. The first thing is we have this user object, and other we have like this data object. Okay. Now these are like their own reducer on its own. Okay. So these are like reducers. Okay. This is a reducer. This is also a reducer. Now in this reducer, what we are doing is see the reducer is a slice of store. Okay. You can consider this reducer. If you are considering this reducer, then this reducer has its own object, right? We call this as its state. Okay. We call reducer state is this. If you're combining all the reducers and all the states, then it means like a store. Okay, nothing much fancy here. Wait for that. Nothing fancy here. So if you're considering this as a store, okay, and you have like a different reducer here. One is like user reducer, like one is data reducer, and whatever the object which I have assigned to the user, that is the state of the reducer. Okay, nothing much. So if you see here, I'm passing like state and action. Okay, so this state will be that state. So here you can say, you can even like create like some initial state here, or in simple terms, let me create like an initial state. Like this. Okay. See, initially in the user object, because this is like a user reducer, we are talking about like only user. Okay, I'm not talking about this complete store. I'm just like talking about this user object. Initially, this is the data. Okay, so that's where we will define here. We'll define the initial state. Now you can say equals here equals initial state. It means like initially the state should be this particular object. Okay, so when it will get this change name as an action type, then what I'm doing is I'm returning a new object with this name. I'm just changing the name. I'm just like, does everyone know like what this split operator does, or no? Yes, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many of you know? Just like
Yes.
raise the hand. At least I need to get like only 7, 9, 10, 7. Okay, only 15 people. Okay, see what exactly this spreader operator, when you do this, right, what exactly we are saying is we are like returning a new object with all the properties of this particular state. What exactly is this state? State is nothing but this like initial state. Okay, so when we return like this thing, this will return a new object with all the properties. All these properties will be copied here. And if any property is repeating after it, for example, it will copy all the thing, name, age 25, name Tajamul, age 25, address Chenpatna. It will copy all this property inside this object, in this newly created object. And if you are like even again giving this name, what will happen is this name will be get overridden by this name. Okay, so see, I'll just like tell you, I'll just give you an example. So when you say dot dot dot, right, what will happen is this will get copied like this. Okay, and again, let's assume we're giving like a name here. Name, we have given like a Salman here. Then what will be the resulting object will be? The resulting object will be something like this. that will just, if any key is repeating again, that will just what we call update it. That's it. Nothing much. Okay. So here, if you see here, what exactly we are doing is we are just doing return dot 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 state and name action dot payload. And in this action is nothing but action will look like this. Action will be an object. In this, we'll be having like a type as change name, and we'll be having payload as what, Salman, right? And this will be your this thing. So when we do like action dot type here, then we are comparing with this. And if the case is change name, it will go inside this, and this is the initial state. Then it will return you a new state with the name changed. Are you clear till now? Is everyone clear? Any doubts?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah. Any questions? Zubair, Umair, Amir, you have questions?
Oh, no, I'm clear.
No, sir.
Okay, you people are raising the hands. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that was like for previous question. Yes. Cool. Cool then. I'm like, yeah, this is how we usually do it. Okay. And now this is the whole idea. And this is how you create a user reducer. And if you want to combine this reducer as a store, here we were like creating a store earlier, right? Here you just like go here, and here you'll give like my user object should consist of. Let me first import that user reducer. No? Import user reducer in reducer. Okay. User reducer. No, this will be the key. This will be the actual your reducer name. Okay. Now, whatever you want to try to access it, if you're giving like user here, you can access this data of user reducer using user. Okay. If you change this name to some other value, you can change it. That's a completely up to you. I'll just show you. Okay. So this is how you create a store. If you have like multiple reducers, for example, this is a user reducer. Let's say you create like another reducer with some data reducer. Okay. If you want to add that data, then what you'll be doing is you'll be creating like another reducer for that. Okay. Anyways, I'll just like show that anyhow we have to create like another 1 or 2 reducers for cart items and this thing. Okay. We'll be doing that. Now this is like kind of very basic setup, guys. Okay. So we have this reducer, we have this store. We don't have action. We were like not dispatching any action, right? Let's keep that for a while now. Now what we'll be doing is let's go ahead and access this data, whatever the data we have here. If I want to access the data, let's assume in a login page. Okay, login page or like product page, how I can access it. For example, if I want to access this data here. If I want to access the data here, I just want to print in console. How I can do it? Now let's go ahead and try to do that. See, this is the first part. You have like set up the store. You have this reducer. And one more thing is, once you do this, right? If you do this like only for the one time during the project setup, it is done. You don't have to remember all these steps. Okay. Why I'm just showing you like from scratches, you need to understand like if you want to set it up even in your personal project, you should be able to do it. It's pretty easy, nothing hard. Okay. So but like once you do setup, it's like very easy, nothing much. See, this is like a one-time setup, and even you have to, as I said, you have to wrap this complete thing to a Redux, right? So that can be done here in the app. You just need to wrap this complete app to Redux store, so that each component can be able to connect to the store. How we can do that? See, this is where like that React Redux package comes into picture. I'll be importing like something known as provider here from React Redux. What I'll be importing? I'll be importing provider. Okay, so I'll be importing provider. Now, what is the use of this provider is? Provider is actually used to create some sort of virtual box around the complete application. Okay, so we have this app here. Okay, we have this provider here. So once you wrap this app to this provider, and if you supply a store here, okay, so whatever the store we have created, right? If you just like add that store here, so where do I have that store? I need to import it, right? I'll just like import that store. Within Redux, I have store. Okay, so once you put that store and just like put it here, this is like kind of very basic setup you need to do. Just like save this, and let me just see in the store. Are you exporting it? Yeah, we are exporting it. Okay. So this is the basic setup, guys. So once you set up like Redux is set up, and let's run and see whether we are getting any issues here. npm start. Oh, it's already running. Yeah, this is the one, right? Okay. See, if I reload the page, we are not getting any error. Okay, that's good. Okay, we are not getting any error. Now the next thing is how I can access the. Till now, does anyone has any questions? Yes, no. If you have any questions. Oh, okay. I'll do one thing. I'll give like 10 minutes. Set up this project in your laptop, and you can whatever I'm doing, right? You can just like do it so that it will be like kind of much easier. Do it. I'll be giving you like 10 minutes. It's like 10:57 now. Take it like till 11:07 and complete it. And if you have meanwhile any doubt, right, go ahead and ask me. I'll be available here. So. First, start by installing all these packages. Yes, Afshan.
We need to create a file like action type, like action type.js. For
It's up to
creating
you.
the-
If you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't want to do it, you can't do it. I mean, like I will even show you that. So don't worry
Okay.
about it. I just like to maintain like a different name strings. That's it. It doesn't serve any purpose there. If you're not even like if you're not creating it, that will also having no issues.
If we have many actions, then only we can create.
Yep. Like,
Okay.
Yes. Yasmin has put like one command. You have to install like React. No, Redux is 3, right? Redux is 3, not React Redux. npm install Redux at 3.
Yeah, I think it's not possible in brackets because previously I had issue in Visual Studio Code, right?
Even if you don't have like this thing, Visual Studio Code problem, you can use like your itself. Bracket is if you're using bracket, just like use terminal.
Yeah, I was trying that.
Okay, yeah. And guys, just like use React, yeah, Redux version at 3. Whatever Yasmin has put the command, right? Just use that. Cool. Is it done? How many of you have completed? Just raise the hand if you have done. No one. Okay, Umair completed. Yes, completed. Those who have completed, raise the hand. Okay, by seeing the numbers, I'll just click continue. Those who have completed, raise your hands. And if anyone needs any help or do you want me to open any file, just let me know. I'll do that. Actions file is empty. Reducer file is this. If someone needs to see this, you can see it.